morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today it's time we had a look at Palkia and told you all that Palkia's back. And I don't mean like a little bit back. I mean with the release of Stella Crown, or Stella Miracle as it is in Japan. Oh yeah, Palkia is fully back. It was back when Astral Radius released, the best deck in the format. Remember that Australian regional where it was like the entire top 8? That was weird. Yeah, it might not quite be back to that level, but make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, Palkia is back and Palkia is here to stay. And it is all thanks to the new card, Area Zero Underdepths. Now, that is a card we've talked about a fair bit on this channel. It is a stadium card that lets you have 8 benched Pokemon just so long as you have a Tera Pokemon in play. And the reason that works so phenomenally well with Palkia is that Palkia does damage, Palkia VSTAR of course, dependent on the number of bench Pokemon that you have in play. And your opponent has in play. 60 base plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon, yours and your opponent's. Well, if you've got 8 bench Pokemon, that is a flat 220 before we get started. If we assume that your opponent has no bench Pokemon, and they will, but if we assume they have none, you're doing 220 and KOing basic Pokemon V and basic EXs. If your opponent's got a few bench Pokemon, if they've got a full bench, and you've got a bench of 8, that's 320 damage. That's absurd. This is why Palkia is so good. 2 energy, and honestly, in a lot of games, you'll be hitting 300 damage plus. It is absurdly good. Now, as it stands in Japan at the moment, and bearing in mind, Stella Miracle only just came out this past weekend. We are early, I need to stress that. But as we are in the format at the moment, Charizard is still the top deck. Charizard, EX, your Stella Terra, your Darkness type, that is the number 1 deck in the format. But right now, Palkia is winning the second most number of events. Palkia is number 2. And I think this is absolutely fantastic. If you're a Palkia fan. If you're not a Palkia fan, I'm sure you probably don't care. But if you are a Palkia fan, your time is now. And really, honestly, it's because of the new stadium. The new stadium lets you have more bench Pokemon, means you can guarantee big damage, means there is a chance that your opponent will also help you out and let you do a bunch of damage, which would be cool, but you're basically upping the damage cap massively. And the attack, it's 2 water energy, and bearing in mind you got Star Portal that lets you attach free water from your discard pile to your water Pokemon in any way you like, you can basically, turn 1 you attach an energy to your Palkia V, turn 2 you attach a second energy, there's 1 powered up, and then use Star Portal to make another 2 or 3 into single energy attackers by attaching 1, and then you just need to attach from your hand when you actually attack. And it is a very, very consistent card. You're talking single evolution and 2 energy, which is super easy to get rolling. The question becomes, which Tera Pokemon are you using? Because Area Zero Underdepths only works if you've got a Tera Pokemon in play. Well, I've got a couple different lists to show you. I've got 4 different lists, and they don't completely agree. But the most common one we've got here is Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. It features in 3 of the 4 lists I'm going to show you. Although, just to be clear, there are way, way more than 4 winning Palkia decks. But just kind of putting that out there. Oh, actually, there's 2. Let's deal with them both at the same time. The other one is Terapagos. So Wellspring Mask Ogerpon and Terapagos are by far the most popular of the 2. A lot of decks play both, and it is actually pretty common for decks to play 2 Tera Pokemon, which shouldn't surprise you, because of course this stadium only works if you've got a Tera Pokemon in play. What you don't want to do is have your only Tera Pokemon KO'd, and then this goes away and you don't have access to the increased bench anymore. Because it's not just that you lose the ability to have 8 bench Pokemon, but you also then lose 3 bench Pokemon, so you've got to build it back up again. Now, Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, it's a basic Pokemon. It's got Torrential Pump. 100 damage, and if you shuffle free energy from this Pokemon into your deck, you deal 120 to your opponent's bench as well. You can get it rolling as kind of a one-off with Star Portal on your Origin form Palkia. Great attack, good job, let's do this. The other one here is Terapagos. I've only got an English version of the Special Illustration Rare to show you, so that's the one I'm going to show you. And it's Unified Beatdown, 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon, but you can't use it turn 1 even if you went second. Decent attack, honestly. And crucially, unlike Palkia, a basic Pokemon you can attack with, whereas if you run out of Palkia V, it is going to be 2 turns before you can attack. Terapagos can attack this turn. That makes a bit of a difference. The other one that we see popping up occasionally is Lapras. I don't think Lapras is anywhere near as good. I think the best thing we can say about Lapras is it's a basic Tera Pokemon that is a water type. Which isn't nothing, but it's not exactly massively exciting. And what we got from Lapras is 40 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon as a basic. Don't worry about the second attack, we're not playing the right energy. So it's fine, but you can see why Wellspring Mask, Gogapon, and Terapagos tend to be our go-to here. It's not the only one you can use, but they are the presumptive best two, so to speak. And that's largely what's changed with the deck. It is basically just, you're going to have a Tera Pokemon, let's go and do this. Because there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, but honestly, the main thing we're getting from the extra bench space here is just consistency. So we see that I think all 4 of the deck lists I'm going to show you are playing Fezandipiti EX. It's got that ability to let you draw free cards if you had a Pokemon KO'd during your opponent's last turn. Well, you got plenty of space for it here, with the added advantage of it's a 2-prize liability that isn't attacking. But you can always just discard it on those turns where you lose access to your stadium anyway, because there will clearly be turns where your opponent gets rid of your stadium and you have to go down to 5 bench Pokemon. Fezandipiti is going to help you out massively here. Fezandipiti is a redonkulous card. And of course, we're going to be playing Greninja here, your Radiant Greninja. That is your Radiant Pokemon of choice. Although honestly, if we only had 5 bench Pokemon, we'd still be playing that one. It is that gosh darn good. But we see some, not all, 3 of the 4 I'm going to show you are playing Noctowl. The only English version I've got to show you here is from the Elite Trainer box, so let's go show you that one. But this is a one whereby when you evolve into it, you get to search for a couple of trainer cards. It's really good in terms of consistency here. And again, you need to fill up your bench. You've got the chance of doing it here. Why not? And for what it's worth, also, if you're playing that, you're probably playing Rotom, that's got that ability whereby only on your first turn, but on your first turn, you get to go and search for some basic Pokemon with low HP, which, of course, is going to be your Hoothoot to evolve up into your Noctowl. And, well, you know, we've got space for stuff like Squawkabilly. Again, low HP, 2-prize Pokemon, but the reality is the first time you lose your stadium, you're just going to discard this and you're not going to worry about it. So it's not just the extra space you've got to do extra damage with Palkia's attack, although that's a very good thing. It's also the extra space that we've got here to play a bunch of support Pokemon to make sure that we are going to have a ridiculously consistent deck, which I think is a pretty big win. In terms of other trainer cards, there isn't really anything massively important here, nothing you wouldn't expect. Obviously, Earthen Vessel is great. Discard a card from your hand, search for 2 basic energy, and you need energy in a discard for Palkia, so that's a big thing. Obviously, Prime Catcher is your A-spec of choice here, and like I say, I'm showing you 4 lists, but make no mistake about it, there are a bunch of lists out there. They're basically all playing Prime Catcher. I'm sure you can find a couple that aren't. I'm sure there's a few out there that are playing different things, but this is a faster, aggressive, consistent deck. You want to be playing this so that you can be picking off your opponent's best Pokemon at the right time. And I suppose it's worth pointing out that they are all playing Capturing Aroma as well. So one that flips a coin, and depending on the coin flip, gets you a basic or an evolution. But in a deck where you need a bunch of basics and you need a bunch of evolutions, it works out quite nicely. Plus, it's a potential out to your Noctowl, and once you get Noctowl rolling, your deck becomes a bazillion times better. So here's the list. Here's list number 1. This one, you do have your Pheasant Dipty. This is the one with Lapras in. You've got your Noctowl and your Rotom. And there's a counter catcher in there, which is interesting. Here is list number 2. Now, this one's going for a weird Gengar with Monkey Dory tech. This is the Gengar that benches itself with damage and then Monkey Dory moves it. This is not a particularly common thing, so it's not something we went into great detail about here. There's also a Mew for a little bit of extra draw or copying attacks. Here is list number 3, which is another one that's just playing Pheasant Dipty, Squawkabilly, Hoot Hoot, and your Terrestrial of choice here is Terrapagos. And then we've got this last one here, list number 4, which is honestly similar to a bunch of them. Make no mistake about it, we might be close to the end of Palkia's lifespan here, but Area Zero Underdepths, giving it both a higher damage output and a chance to play a whole bunch more consistency cards with no real downside, has transformed this. Play a Tera Pokemon, and Palkia gets nuts. It's not going to be legal for Worlds, remember, Area Zero Underdepths, but when we get post-Worlds into October, oh, you better believe we're going to be seeing a bunch of this. So that's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about Palkia. Tell me if you're surprised about it being the second best deck in the format right now. Tell me if you've been waiting for this. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Evan Parker, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.